This is how BBC1's flagship political programme NewsNight reported on the government's humiliating defeat in the Commons last night when Tory MPs didn't even bother to turn up.
Conservatives were mysteriously not there for a Labour vote on pausing universal credit.
They gave it 4 seconds. 4 seconds. Maybe NewsNight isn't clear on what happened in the Commons last night. Faced with almost certain defeat in a debate and vote on Labour's motion to at least postpone the rollout of universal credit, a policy of unspeakable cruelty, a policy that's left already struggling, desperate families facing hunger and homelessness, spineless Tory MPs with their DUP friends prove themselves gutless and without courage by simply not bothering to turn up and vote. Only a single Conservative MP, just one, Sarah Wollaston, had the courage of her convictions to disobey a 3-line whip and voted with Labour. The Tories proved again last night they have nothing but contempt for democracy and nothing but contempt for those who put them in office. What's the point of a House of Commons when a debate and vote is not binding? When a cruel, spineless government and its gutless MPs are allowed to show their contempt for Parliament and spit in the face of democracy? What's the point of giving any Tory MP a right to vote if they don't even bother to use it, if they disrespect the House and Parliament and refuse to use that vote to at least express a view on behalf of their constituents, the people that elected them? Last night was a humiliating defeat for the government. The Commons voted overwhelmingly to pause universal credit. And what's the government's response to the clearly expressed view of the Commons on this issue? They say the vote isn't binding. It's not binding. Their gutless, spineless MPs didn't even turn up to vote. They couldn't be bothered to turn up to defend their own party's flagship policy. One MP spoke of how this botched Tory policy had left a family evicted, forced to live in a tent, their 2 children taken away from them and put in care. Not because they weren't loved, not because they weren't cared for, but because this government had failed them. It's Victorian. Some 25 Tory MPs were said to have been ready to rebel and vote with Labour, but all but one of them lost their backbones at the last minute. They ran away, they hid, they showed their contempt for those who put them in office, their contempt for the people of this country, their contempt for the thousands of families suffering the intolerable cruelty this government's inflicted on them, and their contempt for democracy itself. It was a day of shame for the Tory party, a little party. A party made up of little people, gutless and spineless, unwilling to stand by the courage of their convictions. It was a contemptible display of political cowardice by the Conservative Party in a vote to help some of the most desperate and vulnerable people in our country. That's what happened last night, NewsNight.